Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another entitled parents Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and click on notifications so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, an entitled mother goes nuts in Whole Foods when she isn't allowed to cut the line. Let's jump right in. I love this sub, read it often. I never thought I'd be lucky enough to have an experience worthy of posting, but I guess tonight I was the chosen one. For some context, this just happened at a Whole Foods in West Los Angeles, so yeah, lots of entitled crazy people in general, I suppose. The cast is me, a crazy entitled mom, an entitled kid who's about 10, the poor cashier, and the Whole Foods manager, or assistant manager, I'm not 100% sure. These days, with what's going on, we're using grocery delivery services mostly, but we were out of a few items that my wife needed, so being a good husband, I go off to the nearby Whole Foods. It's not particularly busy at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, so I figure I can get in and out relatively quickly and virus-free. I'm wearing my mask like you're supposed to do, and so are all the employees and customers in the store, and doing social distancing. All that stuff like normal human beings. Anyhow, I have my own bag and it's just a few items, so I don't need a cart. I grab everything and head to checkout. A bit of a line, as only 2 checkout lanes are open. Line is long enough, with social distancing, that it backs into one of the aisles. So I go behind the last person and stand, slowly moving up. After about 3 minutes, the line has slowly progressed forward so that I am at the edge of the aisle, but still several feet from the start of the checkout stand. Entitled mother and entitled kid show up and literally just move in front of me and cut the line. There were 2 people in front of me at this point and 3 to 4 behind me. If it had been entitled mother plus entitled kid with just a handful of items, I probably would have let it go, but they had a full cart, probably 35 plus items in there, including lots of produce that takes longer to ring up. I politely say, "Excuse me," to her in a nice voice, but loud enough that unless she is hard of hearing, she heard me. She completely ignores me. I have my mask on, so I repeat with, "Excuse me, ma'am, but you cannot cut in line, there are people behind you." Again, in a calm, nice demeanor, but louder than before, people in front and behind clearly hear me. Finally, entitled mother spins around and in a tone of voice that is a mixture of disgust and just utter rudeness says, "You weren't in line, you were in the aisle still shopping." No, I was not still shopping. I was at the edge of the aisles because the checkout line was long and everyone is standing a few feet apart, and as you can see, there are people behind me also waiting in line. "No, I didn't see you in line, and I didn't see all those other people in line either. You must have all gotten in line after me." So 5 people lined up within 60 seconds of her in a mostly empty store? Get real crazy, lady. She also raises her voice well beyond what is reasonably needed to try and make some kind of scene, I guess. This got the attention of the cashier. "Is everything okay? I am moving along as fast as I can. I apologize, only 2 checkout lanes are open. We are short-staffed due to what is going on." Well, entitled mother unfortunately cut into line. Entitled mother cuts me off and literally loses her mind. "He's flipping lying. Besides, I'm here with my young entitled kid. He's tired and hungry. We need to go first. It's just common decency to let women and children get priority." These are literally her words. Entitled mother then begins a rant about God knows what else. I lose track because at this point, entitled kid, who had been preoccupied on his phone, suddenly comes up to me and knocks my bag of groceries out of my hands. I wasn't holding them very tightly and just wasn't expecting this, so I was totally caught off guard by this little twerp 10-year-old kid. I was fuming, but it's a 10-year-old entitled kid, so what am I gonna do? Not much, other than blurt out, "What the flip is wrong with you?" Entitled kid is stunned, which is very satisfying to me. Entitled mom, who has been ranting a soliloquy of all her woes to the cashier, turns back to me and now begins to verbally berate me on a level that I've never truly encountered before in person. I mean, I watch crazy Reddit videos on r/public freakout, but now I get to witness one live in all its glory. Thankfully, cashier sees all the insanity, immediately calls for a manager on the store intercom system. The people behind me in line are just stunned. One of them says, "People are just losing their minds," but otherwise, none of them have really spoken up to now. As soon as the Whole Food manager arrives, entitled mother tries talking over everyone as follows. "This flipping butthole guy thinks he is the chosen one and gets to tell people how to live their lives." Entitled mother then takes off her face mask. "Can you kick him out of the store? He is making me feel unsafe." Well, your removal of your face mask is making me feel unsafe and is also against our temporary store policies due to the pandemic. Please put your mask back on immediately or you need to leave the store. "What are you talking about? Masks are not mandatory." I then generally explain everything that occurred up to this point to the Whole Foods manager. Thankfully, the two customers right behind me finally speak up and confirm my story. The manager then promptly kicks the entitled mother and her entitled kid out of the store, not letting them check out, and tells them to come back later when they have their masks on and are willing to follow social distancing rules and have courtesy towards others. The cashier then finally rings me up and I go on my merry way. Elapsed time, nearly 25 minutes, just inside Whole Foods. Should have been 5 to 10 minutes in and out. I get home, my wife is angry it took me so long to get 6 items. I tell her the story. She likes the story, but she's disappointed I didn't get it on video. Life. In story number 2, we have an entitled family who disown their son, but they're still upset when they aren't invited to his wedding. So this is not my story, but my best friend I will call JJ, and it happened about 2 years ago. I have his permission to post it. JJ came out to his family when he was about 27 years old. Aside from them, everyone else in his life knew he was gay, and there was a good reason for it. As he expected, his parents reacted horribly to the news, and basically disowned him immediately. They later told both extended families and his uncles and grandparents cut him off too. His maternal grandmother went as far as to try to take him out of his dead maternal grandfather's will. She failed due to the will's conditions. No one could modify it, not even the main representative, aka Grandma, and homosexuality was not listed in the conditions that could make the inheritance void. Grandpa didn't expect it to happen, or he just didn't care. Take your guess. JJ was legally the partial owner of some properties and also got a substantial amount of money, which got even bigger when he reclaimed in cash his corresponding share of the houses, which forced his family to buy them from him. The other option was losing the properties in a public sale, as stated by our country's laws. JJ didn't need the money actually. By this point, he was a moderately successful professional and lived in his own apartment, but it severed any legal binding that he had with his family that could become a problem in the future. He still kept good relationships with his sister and most of his cousins, but even if they invited him to family gatherings, he always declined. Fast forward 3 years, and JJ is getting married to his longtime boyfriend Sky, whose family was the polar opposite of JJ's. When they found out, they made royal wedding-style plans for the guy's elopement. They are very wealthy, and JJ contributed to the whole extravaganza with a portion of his inheritance. He invited as his guests his friends, including yours truly here as his best man, some co-workers, his sister, and the cousins he still spoke to. Don't be wrong, it was a lot of people. The wedding was amazing, done in an underground venue. Literally speaking, it was a freaking cave. His sister took him to the altar, there was an orchestra playing, etc., etc. Fairy tale style. And the after party, well, I can't remember half of it because I was so drunk, but it was from another world. They said go big or go home, and they really went big. But enough of the context, you came here for the juicy part. JJ told the good cousins not to tell anything to his parents or other family members about the wedding because he didn't want trouble. But obviously, the next day their social media accounts were full of pictures and word spread out like fire. At first, it was small things. He started receiving calls of some aunts about why they weren't invited. The bad cousins complained via Facebook and other nuisances. He just ignored them and blocked numbers and accounts. He did not want or need to give explanations when they had all made clear their position years prior. But one day, hell came directly to the door. His parents, his maternal grandma, and his paternal grandparents, all the heads of the families, came to visit. How they found where he lived is still a mystery to him. Sky was working and JJ was alone in the house, so there was no one to help him against the Crook Squad. His name, not mine. I can't transcribe because he didn't use exact words when he told me this, but it seems at first they tried to be gentle, asking how he could leave them out of such an important event that directly affected the family. Dudes, really? And things like that. His mom even used the "you took away my chance of seeing my only male son's marriage" argument. He pointed out that they were the ones that expelled him from the family and that they hated everything gay. Half of that wedding was an LGBT crowd, if you're wondering. They classified his exile as a misunderstanding. The bickering between the six continued for a long time until he got tired and asked what they wanted, as he could not redo the wedding. Maternal grandma spilled the beans. "Ungrateful brat, at least compensate us for not inviting us to the wedding we paid for." That was the problem. Maternal grandmother and his parents were mad he had used the family money on the ceremony and they wanted it back. He told me they actually thought he paid for everything and had burnt out all the inheritance when it was more of a 30 to 40% of the deal. Sky's family paid more and JJ still had inheritance money. They had brought the paternal grandparents with them as an additional emotional leverage. As I told you earlier, JJ had made sure that money had no legal bindings to his family anymore, but for some reason, they still believed it was theirs to a point and were mad he had spent it. He confronted them and they threw away their facade. What came next was a serious fight in which both JJ and his father ended up hitting each other until the neighbors called the police. Charges were pressed on both sides, but in the end, the case was declared a tie. Don't ask me how that was possible because I don't know. And JJ was not forced to pay 1 cent. He was also able to ask for restraining orders against all of them. To this day, JJ is still shaken about the event. He had prepared himself for years knowing that his family would hate him because of his sexuality, but he still retained some hope that far in the future they could mend things up. He lost that hope after they tried to emotionally scam him. JJ and Sky are super happy right now, well, apart from the pandemic, but he sometimes remembers his parents and gets the Monday blues. This has been John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.